The night was cold, the scrapyard silent except for the soft hum of broken machines. A single human worked under a flickering lamp. His name was Daniel. He was no hero, no soldier, only a tired mechanic who stayed late to repair junk that others threw away. As his hands moved over rusty wires and shattered metal, he heard a sound. It was soft, almost lost in the wind, a small voice whispering near the gate. At first he thought it was his mind playing tricks after long hours, but then it came again, a trembling voice. "Please, do you have food?" Daniel turned and saw her, a girl, not human, her skin faintly glowing under the weak light, her hair silver like threads of moonlight, but her eyes were pale and clouded. Staring into emptiness, she was blind. She stood barefoot, shivering, one hand stretched forward, the other pressed to her stomach. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He had seen many beggars, but never one so young, so fragile, and alien. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small piece of bread. He walked to her slowly, not to scare her, and placed it gently into her hand. She gasped, sniffed it, then ate quickly, as if afraid someone would take it away. "Thank you, human," she whispered, crumbs falling down her chin. "I cannot see, but I know your voice is kind." Daniel crouched in front of her, watching her face. He noticed strange, faint markings across her cheeks. They glowed weakly like fading stars. He realized she belonged to a species known for their vision, yet here she was, blind, broken, abandoned. Something inside him stirred. He looked back at the table, at the scraps, the broken lenses, the small pieces of tech he had been working on. His mind began to race. "Wait here," he said softly. I might be able to help." The girl tilted her head, confused, but nodded, her thin fingers clutching the bread like treasure. Daniel worked through the night, his hands moving faster than ever before. He cut wires, joined circuits, polished a cracked visor from an old pilot helmet. He inserted tiny light sensors from discarded drones. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, but his heart pushed him on. The girl sat quietly, listening to the sound of tools, smelling the burning metal. She asked once, "What are you making?" And he only smiled. A chance. Hours passed, and finally, Daniel stood holding a crude but working prototype, a visor shaped to fit her head, wires taped in place, power cell buzzing faintly. He walked to her, kneeling down. "I want you to try this," he whispered, lifting the visor carefully. She flinched, afraid, but his voice calmed her. "Trust me." He placed the visor over her eyes, adjusting the strap. The sensors flickered. Alive, the screen lit up faintly. At first there was nothing, then a faint blur, then more shapes forming, colors spilling in like spilled paint on dark paper. The girl gasped, her breath sharp and broken. I see something," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Light, shadow, your face. Oh, stars." She stumbled back, tears running down her cheeks as the blurry night sky above the scrapyard filled her eyes. She reached up, touching her face, the visor humming. Daniel watched her with a soft smile, exhaustion heavy on him, but pride warming his chest. The girl laughed, a sound so pure it cut through the night. She spun slowly, pointing at the lamp, the broken machines, the sky, naming each thing in awe. "That is fire. That is metal. That is you," she cried, pressing her small hands to his chest. "You gave me sight." For the first time in her life, she saw her own hands, her silver hair glowing in the lamp, her reflection in a cracked mirror. She sobbed and laughed together, but unknown to them, eyes were watching. In the shadows beyond the fence, two figures, cloaked in black, observed silently. One whispered into a comm device. "Target confirmed. The human has built forbidden tech, and the girl has seen again. Report to command." The girl clung to Daniel's arm, smiling with tears, but fate had already turned. Her gift of sight had become a signal, a danger, a spark that would bring soldiers to his door. Daniel did not know yet, but by giving her sight, he had painted a target on his own back, and somewhere in the night, boots began to march. The next morning, the scrapyard was alive with sounds of hammers, wheels, and voices. Daniel led the alien girl out for the first time, her steps shaky but filled with wonder. She wore the visor, patched with tape and glowing faintly, and her pale eyes shone with life as they caught the world she had never known. The marketplace spread before them, colorful stalls bursting with fruit, fabrics, and metals, the smell of roasted grain mixing with smoke from engines. People moved in tight crowds, shouting prices, arguing, laughing. But when they saw her walking beside a human, whispers spread like fire. "Is that the blind one?" a merchant muttered, leaning closer. "No, look, she can see," another hissed. "Impossible, she was born without sight, this should not be." The girl's hand clutched Daniel's sleeve. She could hear the whispers, but her eyes were wide, sparkling with joy. She stopped to stare at piles of red fruit, lifting one carefully. "Red," she said softly. "You told me red is the color of fire. I can see it now." Daniel nodded, smiling at her excitement, but his jaw tightened at the stares around them. Humans and aliens alike looked at them with unease, some with fear, some with anger. A tall merchant stepped forward, blocking their way, his scales glittering in the sun. "Human," he growled. "What did you do to her?" Daniel stood calmly, but his hand rested protectively on the girl's shoulder. "I only gave her what she deserved, sight. Nothing more." The merchant's eyes narrowed. "This is forbidden. Her people are not allowed to wear such devices. The law is clear. Tampering with their weakness is a crime." The girl trembled, looking at Daniel, her voice soft. "Is it wrong to see?" Daniel's chest tightened. He bent low and whispered in her ear, "No, never, don't listen." But the market was already buzzing, voices clashing. "The human defies the order. This will bring soldiers. He's cursed us all." 2. Patrol guards walked past, their eyes scanning the crowd. Daniel quickly led the girl away, weaving between stalls. But he could feel the eyes on his back, every step echoing with danger. They reached the far end of the market, near a fountain where children played. The girl bent down, splashing water on her face, laughing. "It shines, Daniel. It shines like crystal," she whispered. Amazed, Daniel smiled, but his heart was heavy. He saw the guards again, now speaking with merchants, pointing in his direction. He pulled the girl aside into a narrow alley, away from the noise, her face still glowing with joy. "Why are you afraid?" she asked, tilting her head. "You gave me a gift, they should thank you." Daniel placed a hand on her visor, adjusting it gently. "Not everyone wants change, little one. Some fear what they do not understand, and some will want to take you away." Her smile faded, her voice barely a whisper. "Take me away. Back to the dark?" He looked into her pale eyes and shook his head, firm. "Not while I am here." But as they spoke, in the crowded upper walkway of the market, 2 figures cloaked in black moved silently, their faces hidden by masks. One held a small recording device, capturing every detail of the girl's visor. The other sent the data through a silent channel. "Confirmation received," the masked figure said softly. "The human has created the prototype. The girl is functioning. Order from command. Prepare for recovery." Back in the alley, Daniel tried to calm the girl, giving her a piece of roasted bread. She ate slowly, still smiling though her hands trembled. She had never walked through a world of light before. Every corner was magic, every color a new story, but fear now lingered behind her joy. When they returned to the scrapyard that evening, the sky was painted orange and red. The girl stared at it, tears falling. "I never knew the sky was so wide," she whispered. "I never knew the stars waited for me." Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder, whispering, "You will never lose them again." But inside, his chest burned with worry. The whispers in the market were louder than he thought. Rumors would spread, and soon they would reach ears he could not fight. In the distance, beyond the city walls, a transport ship landed in silence. 4 elite soldiers stepped out, armored in black with silver crests on their shoulders, their boots striking the ground. In perfect rhythm, the leader raised her mask, eyes sharp and merciless. "The human thinks he has given hope," she said coldly. "But he has broken the law, and hope will burn with him." The soldiers marched toward the city, toward the scrapyard, toward Daniel, and the girl. And though the girl still laughed at the colors of the sky, The shadow of war had already begun to fall over her gift of sight. The scrapyard lay quiet after the long day. Broken machines stacked like forgotten giants. The girl sat on a rusted crate, her visor glowing faintly in the dark, her pale eyes fixed on the sparks as Daniel welded a loose panel back into place. "Why do you work even when the sun sleeps?" she asked softly, tilting her head, her silver hair catching the light. Daniel paused, lifting the visor of his mask, sweat glistening on his brow. "Because someone has to keep this place alive, and because keeping busy keeps the fear away," he answered, his voice calm but heavy. The girl frowned, her thin fingers playing with the strap of her visor. "Fear? What do you fear?" He gave a tired smile. "I fear losing what I just gave you, little one. I fear that tomorrow someone will come and take your sight away." Her hands froze, her voice dropped to a whisper. "You think they will come?" Daniel did not answer at once. His silence said more than words. The girl lowered her head, clutching the visor as if it might vanish. Later that night, as the wind howled over the scrapyard walls, Daniel found her standing by the broken fence, looking up at the stars, her cheeks wet with tears. "I dreamed," she whispered. "I dreamed soldiers came. They took me away. They tore the visor off and the dark swallowed me again. I screamed, but you were gone." Daniel stepped beside her, placing a rough hand on her shoulder. "Dreams are not truth, little one, and even if they come, I will not let them touch you." Her voice trembled. "You promise?" He looked into her cloudy eyes, glowing faintly in the starlight, and spoke firmly. "I promise, not while I breathe." For the first time she smiled through her tears, leaning against him, the bond between them no longer of chance, but of choice of trust. Days passed in quiet shadows. Daniel taught her small things. He showed her colors, letting her point them out. "Blue sky," she said with joy. "Green leaves." She laughed. "Orange fire," she whispered in awe. Each word a treasure to her heart. At night she asked questions, endless questions. Why do humans smile when they are sad? Why do stars shine? Why is kindness rare? And Daniel answered patiently, his tired voice steady, though inside he wondered how long their fragile peace could last. But the world was not blind. Whispers spread through the city. More merchants spoke of the human with forbidden tech, some out of envy, some out of fear, others out of loyalty to cruel laws. And in the barracks of the city guard, orders were sharpened. One evening, as Daniel and the girl shared a meal of roasted roots by the fire, a sound reached them, the faint crunch of boots on gravel. Daniel froze, listening, but the sound faded away. The girl looked at him, frightened. "Are they here?" He forced a calm smile, shaking his head. "Only the wind, nothing more." But his hand reached instinctively toward the wrench at his side. When she slept that night, curled in an old blanket, Daniel sat awake, staring at the broken machines. His thoughts racing. He knew the soldiers would come sooner or later. He knew his life had changed the moment he gave her sight, but as he watched her peaceful face, he knew he would never regret it. The next day, she painted with broken chalks on a scrap of metal, shaky lines but filled with color. "This is you," she said, showing a stick figure with sparks around it. "And this is me, with light in my eyes." She giggled. Daniel laughed, but deep down his heart ached, knowing how fragile this joy was. That night she whispered while they sat under the stars, "Daniel, if they take me, if they take the visor, will I still see you, here?" She pressed her hand to her chest. Daniel swallowed hard, pulling her close. "Even in the dark you will carry me, and I will carry you. But listen to me, little one. They will not take you, I swear it." Unseen, high above the scrapyard, a silent drone hovered, its red eye blinking as it recorded, sending images of the girl and her glowing visor to waiting soldiers. The girl laughed softly, not knowing. "I am not alone anymore," she whispered. "I thought I was a burden. But you gave me a life, you gave me sight, and you gave me hope." Daniel's throat tightened, his rough hand resting gently on her hair. "And you gave me a reason to fight," he murmured. In the shadows beyond the scrapyard, 4 soldiers watched from a distance, their armor black, their silver crests reflecting moonlight, the leader's voice cold. Tomorrow we strike. The human's bond with the girl makes him weak. We will use it, and when she screams, he will break. The night deepened. The fire burned low. The bond in the shadows grew stronger, but so too did the danger waiting just beyond the walls, and the promise Daniel had made would soon be tested, not by dreams, but by steel. The sun rose over the scrapyard, turning piles of broken metal into towers of gold. Daniel wiped grease from his hands as the alien girl pointed excitedly at the sky, her visor catching the morning light. "Look, Daniel, the clouds move like rivers," she said, her voice soft but full of wonder. Daniel smiled faintly. Though his eyes scanned the distance, the world had not felt safe since the whispers in the market. He worked harder, repairing broken drones, welding scrap into walls. Anything to make the place harder to enter. The girl noticed his silence. "You are afraid again?" she said gently, her hand brushing his arm. He sighed, staring toward the city gates far beyond the junkyard walls. "I don't know when they'll come, but I know they will, and when they do, we must be ready." The girl lowered her gaze, her fingers tightening around the strap of her visor. "I don't want to go back to the dark," she whispered. "Not after seeing this." Daniel crouched in front of her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "Then you must fight with me, not with weapons but with courage. If they take me, you must run, you must keep the light alive." Her cloudy eyes trembled, shining faintly under the visor. "I cannot leave you." He forced a smile, though inside his chest felt heavy. "Then, we stay together no matter what." Far beyond, in the silent barracks of the city, 4 elite soldiers stood in formation, their black armor polished, silver crests glowing under dim lights. Their leader, Commander Vera, studied the images on a holoscreen, the blind girl laughing, pointing at colors, Daniel standing beside her like a guardian. "This is the human," Vera said coldly. "He builds with scraps, but his crime is greater than steel. He gave her what she was forbidden to have. He gave her sight and hope." One soldier stepped forward, his voice hard. "The law is clear. Hope must be cut before it spreads." Vera nodded. "We march tonight." Back at the scrapyard, Daniel tried to act normal, repairing a broken generator while the girl explored the corners she once ignored. She picked up a rusted flower-shaped gear, holding it to the light. "It looks like the sun," she whispered, smiling. Daniel watched her quietly. The simple joy in her voice pierced him. He thought of all she had missed, all she deserved, and he swore silently to protect her no matter the cost. As the day faded, strange signs appeared. The marketplace closed earlier than usual. Merchants hurried home, shutters slammed, the streets grew quiet. Daniel noticed it when he went out for supplies. The silence was too sharp, too heavy. He returned quickly, his jaw set. "They are moving," he muttered under his breath. That night, the wind carried the sound of something unnatural, the slow rhythm of boots, not 1, not 2, but 4, marching in perfect unison. The girl stirred awake, clutching her blanket. "What is that sound?" she whispered, fear trembling in her voice. Daniel stood at the doorway, staring into the dark horizon where faint lights glowed and shadows moved. "Soldiers," he said, his voice low. "They are here." She gasped, clutching her visor. Then, "It's true, they will take me." Daniel turned to her, his eyes fierce. "Not if I can stop them. Listen to me, little one. You must stay quiet. You must stay hidden. I'll draw them away if I have to." Tears filled her eyes. "But you promised. You promised not to let them take me." He knelt beside her, gripping her shoulders firmly. "And I meant it. But promises mean nothing without sacrifice. Remember, light must survive." From the ridge outside the scrapyard, Commander Vera raised her hand. The soldiers stopped, their eyes glowing faintly under their helmets. She studied the broken walls, the flicker of a lamp inside. "The human is prepared," she murmured, "but no wall of junk can stop trained Steel, tonight we end this. Inside, Daniel worked quickly, pulling wires, setting traps with sparks and oil. The girl watched, confused. Why break the machines? She asked. He gave her a tired smile. Not breaking, preparing. When they come, this yard will fight with us. The night deepened. The moon vanished behind clouds, and the horizon filled with silence, a silence that pressed heavy on the chest. Daniel stood with a wrench in one hand, the girl clutching his sleeve, her visor glowing like a fragile flame in the dark. Beyond the walls, 4 shadows spread, surrounding the scrapyard, their boots moving with cold precision. The girl whispered, her voice shaking, "Daniel, I see them. Their armor shines like knives." Daniel exhaled slowly, his eyes never leaving the dark. "Then it begins," he said softly. And the first stone of war was about to fall. Soldiers on the horizon, human and girl standing in the heart of the storm. The scrapyard was silent, too silent. Daniel stood in the shadows of broken machines, his hand gripping a heavy wrench. The alien girl pressed close behind him, her visor glowing faintly, her pale eyes wide with fear. The night air was thick. The sound came first, boots striking the ground, steady, heavy, merciless. 4 shadows moved at the edge of the yard, black armor reflecting faint light, silver crests on their shoulders. Daniel whispered, "Stay low, stay behind me, no matter what." The girl's voice trembled. "They are here for me, aren't they?" He did not answer. His silence was enough. Her hands shook as she clutched the strap of her visor. Suddenly, the scrapyard gate crashed open with a metallic roar, sparks flying as a soldier kicked it down. 3 more followed, their weapons glowing, faintly with humming energy. "Human," the leader's voice rang cold through the night. "You are under arrest for creating forbidden tech. Hand over the girl, and you may yet live." Daniel stepped forward, sweat dripping down his temple, his voice steady. "She is not a crime, she is a child, and she deserves to see." The soldiers raised their weapons, the girl gasped, clinging to his arm. "Daniel, please," she whispered. Without warning, Daniel pulled a lever hidden near the wall. The scrapyard came alive. Sparks burst from old generators, wires hissed, oil ignited into sudden fire. Broken machines toppled, forming barriers. The first soldier stepped into the trap. A metal beam swung down with brutal force, knocking him back, his armor dented. Daniel grabbed the girl's hand, pulling her through the smoke. "Run!" he shouted. They darted between piles of junk, soldiers chasing, their boots pounding, weapons slicing through the air, bolts of energy smashing into walls, sending sparks raining down. Daniel led her into the workshop, slamming the door shut. He pressed his back against it, breathing hard. "Stay here, hide under the bench," he ordered, her eyes filled with tears. "I can fight too, I can see now, I can help you." He shook his head, fierce. "Not like this, you must live, even if I fall." The door burst open, a soldier stormed in, his blade glowing blue. Daniel swung his wrench with all his strength, sparks flew as metal clashed against energy. The soldier staggered, but another rushed in. The girl screamed, her voice sharp. "Daniel!" Daniel grabbed a welding torch, firing it into the soldier's faceplate. Blinding him with sparks, the soldier roared, stumbling back. Smoke filled the room. The girl coughed, clutching her visor. Daniel pulled her out through a side door, leading her into the open yard. But the soldiers were everywhere now, surrounding them like wolves, their leader stepping forward, her voice ice. "You think you can protect her? You think you can fight us with scraps? Foolish human." Daniel held the girl behind him, his chest heaving. "I don't need perfect weapons. I only need enough to make you bleed." The commander raised her blade, stepping closer. But before she struck, Daniel triggered another trap. The ground beneath them exploded in sparks, a storm of metal shards flying upward. The soldiers raised their arms to shield themselves. "Run!" Daniel shouted again, shoving the girl toward the broken fence. She stumbled, then turned back, her voice breaking. "I won't leave you." Tears streaked her glowing cheeks, but her feet carried her forward. Daniel fought behind her, swinging, dodging, blocking, every move desperate, every breath burning. The girl reached the edge of the yard, but a soldier leapt from the shadows, grabbing her arm. She screamed, struggling, "Let me go. I can see now. I won't go back to the dark." she cried, kicking wildly. Daniel roared, charging forward, his wrench smashing into the soldier's helmet. Sparks flew. The grip loosened. He yanked her free, pulling her close. The commander watched, eyes sharp through her visor. "So much fight for one blind child," she said coldly. "But it will not matter. Humans break, and you will too." Daniel stood panting, his arms trembling, but his eyes burned with fire. "Maybe humans break," he said, voice low. "But we don't stay broken." The soldiers moved in again, their blades glowing, the yard burning, smoke rising to the night sky. The girl clung to Daniel, her heart pounding. For a moment, time froze. The scrapyard was no longer just piles of junk, it was a battlefield. And Daniel, a simple mechanic, stood against elite warriors with nothing but scraps, courage, and love. The raid had begun, and it would not end until one side fell. Smoke still drifted above the scrapyard, flames licking broken machines. The raid had left everything shattered. Daniel and the alien girl stumbled into the old drainage tunnels beyond the wall, their bodies bruised, their breaths ragged. The girl clutched her visor, its glow faint, flickering like a dying star. "Daniel, it's fading," she whispered, her voice shaking. "If it goes dark, I'll be blind again." Daniel knelt, checking the wires, his fingers trembling. "The power cell's cracked. I'll fix it, I promise," he whispered, though his eyes carried fear. She touched his arm, her pale eyes shining faintly. "They'll find us, won't they?" He met her gaze, jaw tight. "Yes, but not yet. Not if we keep moving." Far above, the 4 soldiers spread through the city, their black armor gleaming under torchlight. Their leader, Commander Vera, raised her hand, her voice cold. "Seal every street. Search every tunnel. The human and the girl will not escape the net." Patrols moved like spiders weaving webs. Roadblocks rose at every corner. Guards checked homes, markets, and alleys. Whispers spread through the city. "The poi. Blind one can see. The soldiers hunt her. The human defies them." In the tunnel, water dripped steadily. Daniel held the girl close, leading her through the dark. "Keep quiet. Step carefully," he whispered. But the girl's fear broke, her voice trembling. "Daniel, if they take me, if they rip this from me, will I lose you too?" He stopped, turning to her, his face lit faintly by the flicker of her visor. "No, little one. Sight or no sight, I will always be with you." Her tears fell silently, but she nodded, clutching, his sleeve tighter. Suddenly a beam of white light cut into the tunnel, footsteps echoing, voices cold. "They went this way." Daniel's heart pounded. He pulled her deeper into the shadows. Crouching behind broken pipes, the soldiers' light swept past just inches from their faces. The girl held her breath, her hand pressed over her mouth. When the soldiers moved on, Daniel exhaled slowly, his voice a whisper. "We can't stay. Here, they'll sweep every inch." They crawled through the narrow tunnel, finally emerging into an abandoned warehouse at the city's edge. The girl looked around, her visor flickering weakly. She pointed at faded murals on the wall. "Colors," she whispered. "Even in ruins there are colors." Daniel forced a small smile, though inside his chest felt heavy. Yes, colors, and hope, but hope was thin. The net around them was tightening. By dawn, soldiers had locked down the streets, drones buzzed in the sky, and checkpoints burned with scanners, every human, every alien forced to stop. Commander Vera stood on the steps of the council hall, her voice echoing. "The human mechanic and the girl are enemies of order. Those who hide them will suffer. Bring them to us, and mercy may yet be given." In the warehouse, the girl sat trembling, her visor sparking. Faintly, "Daniel, I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose the sky." Daniel crouched beside her, holding her hands tight. "You won't. I'll fix it, I swear, even if I have to rip power from the stars themselves." Her voice cracked. "Why do you risk everything for me? You could have walked away, you could have left me in the dark." Daniel's throat tightened, he brushed her silver hair gently. "Because when I gave you sight, I realized you gave me something too. You gave me a reason to fight, a reason to matter." The girl leaned against him, whispering, Then we fight together. Outside, a shadow moved. A soldier had tracked them, his blade humming softly. He crept through the broken door, eyes locked on the girl. Daniel saw the glint of armor. His body moved before thought. Grabbing a rusted pipe, he charged, slamming it into the soldier's chest. The sound rang like thunder. The soldier staggered but did not fall. His blade raised, but the girl, with trembling hands, grabbed a stone from the ground and hurled it. It struck the soldier's helmet, making him stumble. Daniel roared, swinging again, sparks flying. The soldier collapsed, motionless, breathless. Daniel looked at the girl, his voice breaking. "You saved me." Her hands shook, but she whispered firmly, "I can see now. I can fight too." For the first time, Daniel realized she was no longer helpless. She was learning to survive. But the victory was small. Already more soldiers would come. Already the net was closing tighter. Daniel fixed the visor again, patching wires with shaking hands. The glow returned, faint but steady. The girl gasped, tears filling her eyes. "I can still see." Daniel nodded, lifting her gently. "And as long as you can see, we still have hope." But outside, horns sounded, patrols gathered. The hunters. Net was nearly closed, and soon there would be nowhere left to run. The battle for survival had only begun. The warehouse was no longer safe. Soldiers swarmed the streets, drones circled overhead. The net was nearly closed. Daniel knew they had only one place left to make a stand. The scrapyard, the place where it all began. He led the alien girl back. Through hidden paths, her visor flickering but holding steady, she stumbled but never let go of his sleeve. "Why go back?" she whispered, fear trembling in her voice. "They'll find us there first." Daniel's voice was low but firm. "Because there, I know every corner, every wire, every trap. If we must fight, we fight on ground that listens to me." By nightfall, they reached the yard, smoke still rising from the raid. Broken machines scattered, walls torn, but Daniel's eyes burned with resolve. "This place isn't ruins. It's a fortress," he said, grabbing tools, welding torches, coils of wire. The girl helped him, carrying scraps, holding the light, her small hands trembling but determined. "Tell me what to do," she whispered. "I will not just watch. I will fight too." Daniel gave her simple tasks, setting wires, placing fuel cans, anything to slow the enemy. He looked at her often, proud but pained. She should have been safe. Laughing in markets, seeing rivers and stars, not preparing for war. Hours passed. The yard transformed into a trap. Sparks ran through hidden lines. Oil dripped where it should. Heavy beams were rigged to fall. Daniel stood in the center, sweat and soot covering his face. The girl stood beside him, visor glowing faintly, her pale eyes steady. "They will come soon," she whispered. "I can feel it." He nodded, gripping his wrench. "Then let them." Far beyond, Commander Vera led her soldiers through the silent streets, her voice sharp. "End this tonight. Burn the scrapyard to ashes if you must, the girl and the human. Do not leave alive." The march was steady, merciless, their shadows long under the moonlight. Inside the yard, the girl shivered. "Daniel, if this is the end, I am glad I saw the world first." Daniel's chest tightened. He knelt, holding her shoulders, his voice rough but steady. "No, this is not the end, not for you. As long as I breathe, you will live. Do you hear me?" She nodded, tears falling. "Then I believe you." The sound came, boots striking metal, the gate collapsing once more, smoke filling the air. 4 soldiers marched in, their blades glowing, their armor shining like death. Commander Vera stepped forward, her voice cold. "Last chance, human. Surrender the girl and your pain will end quickly." Daniel stood tall, his voice sharp. "You will have nothing, not the visor, not her, not hope." The soldiers moved, swift, precise. But the yard answered. Traps sprung alive, beams crashed, wires sparked, flames roared. One soldier stumbled as oil ignited under his feet. Another was struck by falling steel. The girl cried out, pointing. "Left side." Daniel spun, his wrench slamming into the soldier charging from the dark. Sparks flew. The clash echoed. The commander advanced, her blade cutting through traps, her eyes locked on the girl. "You think you can stop order with scraps and courage?" She hissed. Daniel roared, charging, swinging with all his strength. The commander blocked, sparks showering, their struggle fierce. The girl, heart pounding, grabbed a loose pipe, striking at a soldier who reached for her. The blow weak but enough. To distract, Daniel finished with a crushing strike. The soldier fell, but the commander was strong, her blade slicing through Daniel's shoulder. Blood spilled, he staggered but did not fall. The girl screamed, "Daniel!" rushing to him, but he pushed her back. "Stay behind me." Pain burned his body, but fire burned stronger in his eyes. He stood again, wrench raised, his voice hoarse. "I told you, humans break, but we don't stay broken." The commander swung. Daniel blocked, his arms trembling, sparks lighting the night. Suddenly the girl threw herself forward, grabbing the broken visor of a fallen soldier, smashing it into Vera's mask. The commander staggered back. Blinded for a heartbeat, Daniel seized the moment. His wrench came down with a roar, striking the commander's chest. The force sent her crashing into a pile of scrap, metal collapsing over her. Silence fell, smoke drifting, sparks dying. The soldiers lay broken. The commander buried under steel. Daniel collapsed to his knees, blood running down his arm. The girl rushed to him, tears flooding her eyes. "No, no, stay with me," she cried, holding his face. He smiled faintly, tired but alive. "Still here, still breathing," she sobbed, pressing her forehead to his. "We won, Daniel. We won." He looked into her glowing, pale eyes, his voice weak but proud. "No, little one. You won, you saw, you fought, you lived." The scrapyard was broken but alive, flames fading, stars shining above, and in that moment, hope stood stronger than law. The stand had ended, but the bond they forged would not. It would live beyond the night, beyond fear, beyond darkness, for in the heart of a broken yard, one human and one alien child had proved that courage could defy an empire.